happy Thanksgiving, everybody that's here. Thanks for coming out this week. Tonight's discussion will be about innovation and entrepreneurship in Middle Township. I'd like to recognize a few of the people from the Economic Development Committee that are here. We have our Administrator, Elizabeth Trenick. We have Lou Altobelli and Mike Butterfield and Pat McCusker here. Rick Rixey and Nancy Centenary and Robin Salison here. And have everybody here. I mentioned Lou. You only get mentioned once. So we're going to have some speakers tonight talking about innovation and entrepreneurship. We're going to have the Cape May County Clerk, Rita Fulgenetti, be up first, followed by Carol McKessick. We're going to talk about growth and technology in the county. And then we're going to have an exciting discussion from Dean Marie Kellett with the Atlanta County Community College to talk about some new programs that are going on here. And then our final speaker, the special guest, is Matt Mayer, who's here. He's going to talk about incubators and entrepreneurship. He's done it in Philadelphia and what we can do in Middle Township to bring it here in Middle Township. So I'd like to thank everybody that's here tonight. We're going to start off with Clerk Rita Fulgenetti, who's going to give us another excellent history lesson.
Greetings, Middle Township, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit, and briefly, about the innovators and entrepreneurs of Middle Township. It's very interesting. In our Baptist beginnings, and I think the point that I want to make is that Middle Township has been thinking out of the box from the very beginning. Okay, in 1723, the county was divided into 3 precincts. Upper was Quaker, Lower Presbyterian, and Middle Baptist. And unlike other Protestant groups, Cape May County's Baptists accepted women and African Americans into full fellowship into the Baptist congregation, and Middle Township was already thinking outside the box, even in colonial times. I just love the story of Lydia Parsons Shaw Leeming because even though she was raised by Presbyterians, married a Quaker, she was the founder of the Baptist Church here in Cape May Courthouse. She was a hard-working farming lady, farming many acres. And what I love about her in this quote, "And those who did not intend to die as poor as they were born must bestir themselves with great industry." Now, a great mother raises some great children, and her son, Aaron Leeming Jr., was in his time one of the rock stars of New Jersey. And had his health been better in different circumstances, he probably would have been one of the signers of the Declaration of the United States. So Aaron Leeming was the writer, along with Jacob Spicer, of grants, concessions, and original constitutions of the province of New Jersey, one of the treasures of New Jersey's historical archives. And he had a tavern in Middle Township, 1761, there's his license. His home, renovated home, sits across from the tennis courts on Crest Haven Road. It is said to have been moved from Seaville and may be the building that housed the original tavern. And there is his documented diary, which gives us insight into art history in Cape May County. That's Aaron Leeming. So we all know about Middle Township being the county seat. But that was really determined by a very hotly contested election of April 25, 1848, where 1,003 of the 1,005 registered voters of Cape May County turned out to cast ballots that gave Cape May Courthouse an 89 vote majority with 524 votes more than Dennis Creek with 435 votes, and Goshen came in third with 44 votes. But my point is Dr. John Wiley, whose house still exists. It's the Doctor's Inn at Mechanic and Main Street. He was the Civil War surgeon, the prominent Whig turned Republican, who wrote a tract that appealed to our thrift in Cape May County. But and so beside all of that, he was a major shareholder in a new bank, the Atlantic Bank in Cape May Courthouse. And so there he is. John Wiley, MD, and Franklin Hand, who was a prosperous courthouse farm and real estate developer, owned the majority of the shares of the Atlantic Bank of Cape May Courthouse, chartered in 1851. Unfortunately, it lasted about 5 years, but John Wiley, one of the innovators and entrepreneurs of Middle Township. Now, another failed thing that happened, but, I believe that we got to fail sometimes to find out what we really need to do. So we had sugar processing in Rio Grande. And, in its day, the company employed 140 wagons and teams to cut and haul sorghum from Lemuel Miller's farm in Green Creek to the Rio Grande factory. Unfortunately, the experiment didn't pan out, and cost far outweighed the benefits, and so sugar manufacture did not work out in Rio Grande, but I think we learned some real important lessons from it. So here we have two Goshen greats, Andrew J. Tomlin, who was a Civil War medal winner from the Civil War, and also Cape May County Sheriff. And on the right is Eugene Grace, who was tremendous. He was a World War I. He brought World War I industry to Cape May County. He was born in Goshen, and he went to work for Bethlehem Steel. And because of his connections, he brought a ordnance proving grounds to test them in Cape May County, and brought us quite a bit of revenue. Now I want you to look at that star down the bottom, and I want you to know that that is the site of Bidwell's Ditch. Talk about this just a little bit. Okay, Goshen was built up around a great shipyard and steam sawmill. Okay, Bidwell's Creek, the former Wills Creek, was deepened in the 1890s by Richard Bidwell, a South Vineland salt hay entrepreneur. The artificial creek, renamed Bidwell's Ditch, fundamentally altered the marshes in the region, nearly drying up the once deep Goshen Creek and ending the shipbuilding that had supported the community for over a century. Okay, and the star in the previous slide shows the location of the beginning of Bidwell's Ditch, which extends east to intersect with Dennis Creek near Route 47. Now, the unintended consequence of digging of that ditch was that it gave a premature demise to the shipbuilding industry in Middle Township. During the years of 1859 and 1898, there were 36 vessels constructed and built in Middle Township, in Goshen, Rio Grande, Green Creek, and Dyes Creek. And so unintended consequences hastened that death. Okay. Glass companies. We were home in Cape May Courthouse to 3 glass making and blowing companies. Taylor Stites Glass Company at the junction of Schoolhouse Lane and the Reading Railroad, Hereford Glass Company at the end of Hereford Avenue and Reading Railroad, Cape May Glass Company at Schoolhouse Lane and Reading Railroad. And so it was the nearness of the sand and the railroad that made that industry prosper. And I love this slide to talk about the glass factory child laborers that we got from the Library of Congress. Taylor State Supply Company, and we're all familiar with that property on Mechanic Street. And here it is heralding the opening of the Taylor State Supply Company, a mammoth new store, okay, which sold goods to its workers.
Is that right at the railroad?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
That odd building
Yes,
that I never knew.
yes. Now it's an apartment building, but that's what that was.
So it's on the bottom floor, is
Yes.
now all walled in.
Yes. Yes. Middle Township was the home to many dairies, no doubt. The three glass companies were making those glass bottles for the milk. Evidence of Middle Township's agricultural history. And here's an 1878 Beers map of Cape May Courthouse. The Hotel Bellevue, another story of innovation and entrepreneurship. One of the oldest businesses in Middle Township, dating back at least 140 years, as evidenced by its existence on this map in 1878. And so the land title records go back to 1870, but we don't know exactly when it was built. After the 1905 fire, the tavern was rebuilt and sold that same year, then sold again in 1907, 1909, 1910, and 1911. So they kept trying to get it right. In 1905, we had a great fire in Cape May Courthouse. The newspaper said it was a holocaust. 21 buildings in the heart of courthouse were destroyed by fire, which broke out in Yorison's hardware store by an apparent explosion from a keg of powder. Swept by a high wind, the flames spread rapidly. The Bellevue Hotel was completely destroyed, as was the Gazette office and many smaller structures. The full list of property owners whose buildings were destroyed was published in February 25, 1905, Star of the Cape newspaper, and that is on the slide. Something you may not know. Middle Township was home to one of the first Ford dealerships, Foster and McRae Ford Agency on Main Street. In 1903, Henry Ford, Alexander Winton, and Walter Christie met in Cape May to race their cars from Madison Avenue to Sewell's Point. Henry Ford's fledgling car company was in its infancy, and Ford had not yet made a name for himself, barely making enough of an income to keep it going, let alone to have spare money. To raise the funds for the trip back to Dearborn, Michigan, Ford sold his car to Daniel Foster and gave him a dealership. He established the first Ford agency, that of Foster and McRae in Cape May, also in Ocean City. But in 1920, Foster and his partner, Jeremiah McRae, purchased a 39 by 227 foot property in Cape May Courthouse right on Main Street from the heirs of Alexander Williams. At the same time, he purchased a 6 by 227 foot lot of land from Elvina Patton, reserving for Elvina a 1 foot access easement. The June 25, 1920 Gazette announced that Jeremiah McRae was building a new 38 by 120 foot concrete block building with plate glass in front and fitted for Ford service. He hired local resident Alfred Peterson to manage his new business. Now, I think you probably recognize that building as part of the Vim thrift shop. After 6 years, the property sold to Frank Evans and Leeming Lloyd and remains the Cape May Courthouse garage, and the remains of the Ford dealership and garage, known by name Evans and Lloyd Cape May Courthouse garage until 1940. From that point, the dealership garage lot size and building grew and became the hometown business for well-known dealers such as McIntyre Ford, Kindle, Gallo, Gratz. Note, through all these transfers, Elvina's 1 foot easement still remains, okay? And we have a photo of that one, but we didn't put it on there. But I have a photo of it, it's really kind of cute. Clinton Conover and his son, Jersey C. Conover. Clinton Conover was an oysterman and farmer purchased the first of many acres of Middle Township farmland in Green Creek in 1907. Conover Farms grew into a multi-faceted family business. His son Arthur C. Conover raised turkeys and had grown beans for Seabrook Farms. In the early 30s, C.F. Seabrook partnered with Clarence Birdseye and General Foods to quick freeze vegetables, which subsequently enabled Seabrook to become the first major produce supplier for the U.S. military. At one point, the company operated the largest processing plant of its kind, and it was via Middle Township vegetables grown by Clinton and Jersey C. Conover. And today, the family continues the entrepreneurial business their father and grandfather began. Franklin and Marie Menz, after successfully operating a Route 47 road in Millville, Franklin Menz's business fell victim to the expansion of Route 55. Then in 1965, Franklin, who at age 19 lost his leg to cancer, along with his wife Marie, relocated their family to Rio Grande, where they bought Fort Apache, a recreated Old West town, and turned it into a campground. They operated several businesses, and then in 1976, with their children, they opened Men's Seafood Takeout, and adding a dining room, which became Men's Restaurant, which we know today. Very innovative with all of those brick-bracks. People love it. George Davis of Whitesboro. He learned his trade by working with another Whitesboro mechanic, George Jones, and at Endicott Lumber Company, Mullins Auto Company, Esso Gas Station, and the H.B. Chrisman Auto Parts Store. So his method was on-the-job training. Then he opened his own business, the G.W. Davis Auto Body and Paint Shop in Whitesboro, which operated for over 40 years. Very innovative. And so I'm going to leave you with a photo collage of some current day Middle Township innovators and entrepreneurs. Right? 10 minutes, was that good?
That's good.
Okay?
Wonderful.
Good job.
Yeah, I was told 10 minutes, so do my best to get it done.
One question for you.
Yes.
The very first slide, you showed a picture of the Baptist church. That's the one on Route 9?
Yes,
And when was that built?
1712.
That building
I
was-
mean, and, well, not that wasn't built 1712, but the congregation goes back to 1712. So they had several buildings, and that was, you know, the last one. But it's an ancient organization that dates back all the way to 1712. And it's really special. One of the oldest organizations in the county. Yes,
Can you say where those three glass factories were, these were again?
yes,
I have people that live here, and it's 100 years ago.
They don't- right. Okay,
I
let's-
remember two of them, not three.
We had Taylor Stites at the junction of Schoolhouse Lane and Reading Railroad, Hereford Glass Company at the end of Hereford Avenue and Reading Railroad, and the Cape May Glass Company on Schoolhouse Lane and Reading Railroad. So it's really two, because Cape May Glass Company was formerly the Taylor Stites. So from 1901 to 1908 it was Taylor Stites, and then from 1908 to 1924 the company became Cape May Glass Company.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Sure.
So it's almost like the bed is almost a push, because there was two, then three, then two.
Yes, yes.
So I don't have to pay.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
Thanks.
Saying wow for over 20 years. Rita has been not only a dear friend, but in my view, one of Cape May County's greatest treasures. For any of you who have had the pleasure of working with her or being at other meetings where she has spoken and appeared, she is really such an asset to the county. It's amazing. My name is Carol Matesic, and I'm Director of Strategic Business Development for the county. And I've appeared before you before, so I'm here really just by nature of an update for you on where we are with business development currently. Very, very different from everything you just saw with all of these amazingly kind of earth-oriented, charming industries. When we fast forward a century, we find that in Cape May County, rather than some very well-placed landowners and business owners, we have turned into basically a tourism economy, with tourism generating a lot of bucks, but not providing the population with year-round, well-paying jobs. So in the past, when I've been before this group, I've shown you how when our current leaders, particularly Will Morey, who leads the economic development opportunities and efforts of the county, came on board, they started doing a strategic analysis to figure out what kind of industries might we try to recruit within the county to change the current availabilities or opportunities of jobs. We've been losing our young people for almost 4 generations now. They can no longer afford to either come back to the county after college or stay here after higher education if they want to raise a family and or purchase a home. They've been priced out by the pricing of second family homes that outsiders, so-called outsiders, are buying. And there's simply not enough, or sufficient number of large businesses to offer well-paying year-round jobs. By the same token, all the charm that showed in Rita's presentation is something that we don't want to do any damage to. We want to leave our county kind of looking and feeling as it does culturally. So when Will Morey came on board and we started doing strategic economic analysis, what might we possibly bring in? I won't go through that story again, but you all know that one of the things we settled on was drones. Over the past 4 years, that has somewhat widened, as has the industry in its definition of the term drones, to a broader term, tech. We have been actively pursuing, targeting, and having some successes with the tech industry. Cape May County works for tech companies because they require a very small footprint. Some people don't realize it, but we are basically built out in this county. And more surprising, we are 45% plus wetlands, non-developable lands. So say you got someone like Amazon who might be interested in looking at us, this peninsula way down at the bottom of New Jersey. They come in, not only do they not have land to settle on, but they can't insure, say, a distribution facility on a piece of land that's surrounded by water. The insurance companies won't underwrite that. What does work is a tech company that needs very small footprint. They need computers, and they need them in small offices, in lovely buildings. And the tech world, at the time we kind of started targeting drones, was just coming alive. We looked at various economic impact analyses of drones and tech, and they were wide open and got involved. Well, how do you go from an economy that supports businesses like the ones that we all know and love in Rita's presentation to these sleek, aerodynamic, manufacturers and computer programmers, and actually bring them here in with, roots where they will actually open buildings and offer jobs available to all of our residents, not just young people. Our decision 4 years ago was to do what everybody else in the new UAS business was doing, which was basically to plow a tractor through an open field and see what turned up. We started getting involved in every UAS-related activity we could think of. One of them was what we call the innovation forums. We started creating meetups or hackathons for innovators in UAS. Some of them were located in New Jersey, some of them were located in surrounding states. We invited them, they came, and some of them have started staying. Another of the activities that we did was, many people don't realize, especially at that time, the default position was that you can fly drones, despite how many movies and TV shows you saw them in. Basically, the FAA has said nobody's flying drones in the national airspace until we give our approval of that. That approval may not come for another 3 or 4 long years down the line, but there are certain activities in which you can engage. One of the things that we as a public body could do was to go out and ask the FAA for our own certificate of authorization, also called a COA. It gives us the opportunity to exercise some jurisdiction or control of the airspace above the county. Unlike most other areas in the United States, we could invite certain types of companies and missions to come in and actually fly above the county. That started bringing in tech companies. I mean, it was strategic, but to the companies themselves, it was also very substantive. Airspace was what they needed, and airspace we can offer. We took every opportunity we could to do every kind of program or mission that we could. And we did start attracting innovators to such an extent that they actually started working with one another in various substantive areas. We got a bunch of innovators who are into what's called counter UAS, the technology that helps you find unwanted drones and help identify them to law enforcement so they can be taken down, not taken down. You're not allowed to mitigate by shooting drones, but you can locate the pilot of an unmanned aerial system and have him or her bring the drone down. One of the nation's leading counter UAS companies is going to settle here. They will not be requiring hundreds of employees, but they will require a small, highly skilled technical staff. The company was founded by a woman in northern Jersey, and it really has done just tremendously well. She's one of the key members in our innovation forums. I brought, for those of you who might be interested in seeing various of our team members, a chart that contains only 30 of them. But they vary from large public agencies like the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has asked us to do missions for and with them. We're currently beginning a mission in which drones will fly from vessel to vessel, Coast Guard vessel to Coast Guard vessel. And a ton of other companies that you can see. Our innovation forums actually have roles now that number in the hundreds. We started out with 9 people, it's actually 4.5 years ago. But we engaged in those kind of activities. We started getting known for missions in not only counter UAS, but first responder technology testing for UAS, maritime, as in Coast Guard missions, and energy utilities. We actually have on our team, among our team members, 2 of the largest oil companies in the United States. They do have headquarters here in New Jersey, so they had reason to come. But that's a good example of how simply because we created activities related to UAS and nobody else did, nobody else was doing that, the innovators came to us. You really can come and build the field, and they will come if there are not alternatives. Now these people who are coming here to do these forums and speak at the conference or attend the conference or whatever it might be, one of my favorite activities has been at the United Nations when they first implemented new drone guidelines for disasters overseas, asked someone who was one of our innovative team members to come in and teach the representatives about drones. And she said, why would we do this in New York? We should do it down in Cape May County. And sure enough, we got busloads of representatives coming down one day, and we did a day-long workshop for them over at the Ferry Building. For those of you who'd like to see actual videos of some of these things, we have a website, uascmc.com, and the videos in particular I would recommend because you can actually see some of the things that you'll be very surprised have actually been happening in your county. Most recently, with the innovators who are working here in kind of satellite formations, we've had a very interesting and wonderful offer from the FAA itself. FAA headquarters in Washington has actually offered us a partnership. Their lawyers prepared a memorandum of understanding, which they provided to us at the end of October. And they have offered to partner in certain safety-oriented missions. And those missions would be along the lines of the Coast Guard example that I cited, or helping first responders with technology that assists them immediately after an emergency to communicate with one another because a drone is flying up above like a flying cell tower. So we've been engaged in those kind of missions. The missions fly out of both principally out of Woodbine at this point. There are two basic kind of drones. One is the so-called rotary drone that you see in movies, and the other is a fixed wing drone that looks just like a tiny miniature airplane. We have one that we rent that we consider the county's drone. The wingspan is 17 feet wide. It can carry payloads ranging from a camera to a bag full of provisions that's brought into FEMA troops immediately after an emergency. And all that testing is taking place here, mostly up in Woodbine. But it has given rise to great buzz in the tech world. And as I mentioned before, we've really expanded from using the word drones to using the word tech. Because as we started building facilities to house the companies that are interested in coming in, our first two anchor tenants in this building that is going up at Cape May Airport, all of you know that the Avalon building has now come down the monstrosity that had been there vacant for a couple of decades. The first two anchor tenants that are negotiating leases for the Avalon building are both tech companies, but not technically drone companies. One of them is a sensor manufacturer. They use UAS technology to track wildlife, but they did not originally form as a drone company. The other is a British company that had stopped in Cape May on their way to Texas, where they intended to establish their North American headquarters. They're not a startup. They're pretty highly developed. They liked Cape May County so much, and more on point, enjoyed meeting with the innovators who were starting to come in here so much that they actually decided to stay, and Cape May County will now be their North American headquarters. And it's a highly regarded company. They actually have programmers at Cambridge University in England who develop sensors for library technology. The lowest product that they sell is $100,000. So it's not a bad company to have here, and they are already looking, for people. So that scene is all good. A partnership is great, great joy for us. That also brings people in. So our challenge has been to get people here, get boots on the ground, and hope that they kind of like our culture and the way that we live and see some opportunities for their companies, and that appears to be beginning to happen. Again, through the great and energetic leadership of Will Morey. If you don't know who Will is, he and his brother basically own the boardwalks over in Wildwood, and they are very enlightened business people who are concerned with what I mentioned before, staying true to the culture of the county at the same time they create new opportunities. Two of the missions that came in just this past week, or two of the, I guess you'd say, small successes, although they're large companies. One of the companies that has done some testing in the county recently is T-Mobile. They were testing whether or not their particular brand of cellular communications technology could be helped by being flown by drones in cell-deprived areas. So they used Belle Plaine State Forest as the kind of test zone, and they flew out of Woodbine Airport, and they had such a great experience. And by the way, when these things happen, as many county employees as we can get, the freeholders or whomever, we kind of get them up to the airport to meet and greet and say hello to people, because the more local contacts they have like that, the more apt they are to start thinking, hey, I could enjoy this as a home. Well, a couple of our freeholders did that for T-Mobile, and we had various townspeople who went up during the testing days, and we were notified last week that the company has made a corporate decision. I believe their headquarters is out in Washington State on the Pacific Coast, to actually engage in prolonged testing, and that they would like to do it here. Now, that's not a signed agreement yet, but I'm permitted to just kind of say that that's now actively being pursued. The other deal that just came in last night, and the reason that I didn't have time today to go home and kind of dress for this occasion, is one of the largest energy companies in the world, which I'm not free to identify at this point, and I can't give you details of the mission either. But they have been looking for a partner to engage in long-term testing. It does involve utilities or transmission lines, I guess I should say. And we have kind of worked with them, hopefully, for a year and a half. And we really just got the first written confirmation last night that their corporate upper tier has pretty much committed to doing that. If and when that happens, these changes will either occur within, let's say, 6 to 8 months, or someone else will have gotten the opportunity. These are not things that are going to sit around. Like, we can't let any of these just sit on a burner. But we reach out whenever we hear, and as I say, we've recruited that one for quite a long time, and we just heard last night that it looks like that one's coming through. Very quick word about our having tried unsuccessfully to get the state to commit to corporate incentives that would have helped companies come in. New York State, by contrast to New Jersey, has put $60 million into their drone company, or their drone efforts so far. I was at a meeting up there a month and a half ago, and just the night before, Gibson, who's their executive director, had received notice of another $15 million from Governor Cuomo. So we hear that, and we have gotten basically nothing so far. We did get from the US EDA a $3 million grant, which was lovely, toward the demolition of the Avalon building and the building of Tech Village at the airport. I should tell you real quickly that this design is intended to stay faithful to the design of the airport. If you don't know, Cape May County Airport during World War II was the site at which all Navy flyers got their basic training before going over to Europe or elsewhere. And there's still a couple of historic hangars there. So we had our very modern architect come up with something that would work. The first 2 anchor tenants, there would be 3 buildings like this with 3 units each, and the first 2 anchor tenants had taken the side units. So all good. Getting back to the incentives, Senator Van Drew was one of the proponents of legislation introduced both for Atlantic County, one piece, and the other was introduced for Cape May County. The Atlantic County legislation has passed, though in a very torturous way. They agreed to provide incentives in one of the state's programs that will only last another 9 months, and then that program is dead, and they don't intend to revive it. So if Atlantic County, for its new big tech park and the airport, can find companies who can commit within these next 9 months, it's a very nice package for those folks. Cape May County, unfortunately, Governor Murphy signed what's called a CV, or a conditional veto, which said, I just don't see anything happening down there, and I think we ought to pay the New Jersey EDA, Economic Development Association, we ought to commission them to do an economic study. Study the inventory, study the needs, figure out what industries would work in Cape May County. Now, some of the things I've already described to you, these have been globally talked about. There are videos of that United Nations trip. There are videos of Verizon doing its testing here. We've distributed those. People know about those. We're not greatly PR oriented here. That's not our style. We do fly a little bit under the radar, but there's been no secret about the successes that have occurred here. And in fact, we hear regularly from people around the country asking, about our program. We have frequently been cited as one of the top 5, or in one instance, it was Congressman Lobiandu who said we were tops, and he was a little biased. But interestingly, experts in the field, if you ask them about Cape May County, they know who we've been playing with and who's been here and what they're doing. And to them, it's very exciting stuff. So I understand politicians are very different, but we were shocked that in this conditional veto, the governor, whom I otherwise like, said we just need to kind of examine what kind of industries might work in Cape May County. Okay, so here we are. And by the way, we work, some people maybe don't associate county government with this kind of work schedule, but my ordinary weeks are like 60 to 70 hours long, and other people who contribute to projects that we're involved in frequently are also, 7 days a week for very lengthy hours. And no, we don't get paid what private industry does, but the excitement in all these exercises is amazing. And the promise of what it will bring ultimately to our community, which started, rooted, again, in those wonderful businesses that Rita showed you. The promise for our community is that we're going to be, in the 21st century, perhaps quicker than other people. We may have lagged on certain technological projects in the past, but we're a leader now, and we'll continue to grow as leaders, I think. It's something that our children can kind of look up to, and that they will receive many good opportunities from. So that is about all I have to share with you tonight. I hope you can see we've made, incremental progress. The real metric will be jobs. I'm telling you that the one British company has an ad out for just, someone to work in their office, but also is talking with people about who might, they're hoping for an American investor, not because they need the revenues, but because they want someone who actually gets a stake in the company. That creates all kinds of synergies that it doesn't if you have only foreign investors. So that's about it. I thank you very much for holding this.
You're a treasure too. You're both treasures, and you're hard acts to follow. So I'm Maria Kellett. I am the dean here at Cape May County campus of Atlantic Cape Community College. I always ask this: how many here? This is your first time here? Anybody? That is not true. I know you've been here. So, well, that's good. That's great. I'm glad that you're come back to visit us. So I have a few things to talk to you about tonight, and the first one is very exciting. I feel bad. I feel like Governor Murphy gave us the $20 million, so that might have gone to you. But Governor Murphy did create a free college avenue for people going to community colleges. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. It is what we call a last dollar scholarship. That means that for those students that receive federal and state and scholarship money, all of that money is applied to their bill first, and then whatever is left over, the state will pay for. Now there are a few things that qualify you for that. First, you have to go to school. You have to be at a community college, hopefully here. You have to apply for the federal assistance. So we love acronyms here, so it is the FAFSA, which is Federal Application for Free Student Assistance. So you must apply for that. If you're already here at this college that you came this fall, you don't have to, and you applied, you don't have to apply again. But the good news is that if you went to school a couple of years ago and you'd like to come back, apply for the financial aid, and you may get this money. You have to enroll in 6 credits, and your adjusted gross income has to be $45,000 or less. So that is a certain group of people that we are hoping to help, and we're doing everything we can to reach out to students who maybe came here a couple semesters ago but didn't come back, bring them back, students who haven't registered for spring. But we have this money, we hope to distribute it, and we are trying to make that happen this semester, because it's spring semester, because we need to use it for spring semester. So it's a great thing, but there's lots of information about it on our website, so you can go to atlantic.edu, and there's all kinds of information about the free college. There is also a email address, which is, let me find it here. It is free college at atlantic.edu, and you can ask a question and someone will respond to you. We also have these very informative brochures at the table over there where the water and the empanadas are, and you'll probably be seeing them around town as well. So that's free community college. The other thing I wanted to tell you about that's very exciting, specific for Cape May campus, is that we've changed the semester schedule. So in order to accommodate our businesses here in Cape May County, which are mostly seasonal and help the tourists, we have changed the the semester to 12 weeks. So students will start this spring January 22nd and they will end April 20th. So they will be out before Memorial Day, and then they will not return until September 30th. So they'll be able to work the entire summer season. So we're very excited about that, and every student that we enroll, we tell them about it, we ask them what they think about it, and they're all very excited as well. So, and I hope the word spreads, because I think people in Atlantic County should know that we can do it here for 12 weeks. So instead of 16 weeks in Mays Landing. One other thing before I get to what you asked me to talk about, which is this summer we're bringing back a favorite program that we had here for many years that stopped back in 2006. It's called the Kids College. And this is a program that will start running at all 3 campuses. We'll have 4 weeks here at Cape May campus. They'll start after the 4th of July, and we'll be offering students who are in grade school and middle school the opportunity to come to college and take classes like video game programming, comic book art, what's some other thing, code breaking, virtual reality. So exploring health careers, some exciting, some maybe not so exciting to some people, but we're offering this and bringing children in here, and all of the classes will be broken out into age-appropriate lesson plans for ages 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 to 16. So I talked to Robin, and she said the homeschoolers are probably going to love this. So it's really exciting to see this come back. And we're also excited because we've tracked these students that did come through this program before, and about 37% of them ended up being our students here. So it's actually a really great recruiting tool that we weren't quite aware of. So it's pretty neat. So now on to entrepreneurship. Elizabeth and Carol and Vicki Clark and several others have been talking about entrepreneur hub center, business center here at the Cape May County campus, or the need for it here in Cape May County. So we do offer classes here at Cape May campus in entrepreneurship. We have non-credit classes. We also have credit classes. So you can get kind of a certificate, or you can go on and study business and get your degree with a focus in entrepreneurship. But we wanted to take that a step further. And the idea was to create some kind of center where businesses who are already established that want to up their game or need more training in accounting or marketing could come and get those resources, a workshop, a mentor, just help them along. And then for people who want to start a business, because as we know here in Cape May County, so much of our business is small business, mom and pop, family businesses. So there really isn't a centralized resource center for those people. The first step that I've taken to make that happen here at this campus is there's an organization called SCORE, and it's associated with the Small Business Administration, and it used to be something retired executives. They don't use that anymore. People don't like to use the term retired anymore, I learned. So, or identify themselves that way. So now they just go by SCORE. You've scored by having these folks come and help you. And it is folks who have left their full-time careers in various businesses and are now willing to give back to the community and for no charge help people in business, solve all kinds of problems, whether it's marketing or digital communication or social media. We have people that are helping with it. So SCORE has an office now here at the Cape May County campus, and David Youngmans is the gentleman who is bringing that chapter together. So that's the first baby step toward this. The other thing that Elizabeth and Carol and I talked about is that there was an opportunity grant through the New Jersey Economic Development Department. And that's coming up again. And one of the things that we would like to do is have a satellite in downtown Cape May Courthouse. So a satellite office that would be available to everyone for like an initial kind of review of what it is you need. So the college would actually have like a hangout shingle somewhere on Main Street, there on Mechanic Street, and people would be able to come in and talk to someone about what business they want to create or what business they have that needs help. And then we could figure out what they'd like to study or be helped with and bring them back here to the college to take courses or workshops or anything like that. Maybe run small workshops there at that location, but it would bring more visibility to the college and also help a lot of people here in the community. Next week, a group of us are getting together with a potential funder to talk about bringing this. So the grant may come through. Someone else is very interested in potentially funding this. I don't have any details now, but it's going to happen, and you're the first to hear about it. So we are going to have a business resource hub, an entrepreneurial studies hub, something, we don't know what we're going to call it yet, but it will be affiliated with Atlantic Cape Community College. SCORE will be on board to help. Vicki Clark will be on board to help. Middle Township, the county, so we're very excited about bringing these partnerships together and making that happen for our community and the businesses here in our community. And I invite all of you to contact me, let me know what you think about that, what kinds of things you would like to see, what kind of resources you'd like that center to have, because this is for our county, it's for the people here, and whatever we can do to make that happen, we're interested in doing it. So, is there anything else? That's it, right? Okay, well, I thank you for coming here and seeing our beautiful campus again. And let's do
Hello, good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay without the microphone. My name is Mike Mayer. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you to the Economic Development Council. I'll just give a quick short bio. Many of you guys may have seen me at a previous event. Can you hear me in the back, Luke?
I can hear you good.
Okay, cool. So, Middle Township graduate, went off to the Naval Academy, played soccer there, drove ships around the world for about 4.5 years, did some fun stuff. Got a chance to play with drones in real time, UAVs in the Persian Gulf, so totally appreciate drone technology. By the way, you guys are beautiful communicators, and thanks for your presentations, and thanks for the work that you're doing. So I'm here to talk about what I believe by way of co-working and incubation, how that can be a vital role of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem. After I got out of the military service in the Navy, I went back to Philadelphia and launched my first business, which was a small boutique co-working company called Benjamin's Desk. And I'll come back and define terms around what I mean by co-working or incubation or acceleration. And you hear a lot of these buzzwords today, and I'll explain them a bit. But I launched that business, had a lot of success. I've seen a lot of technology companies, startup companies. I've helped companies raise millions and millions of dollars to build successful businesses. That co-working business is now called 1776, which is an incubator network. We acquired a company out of Washington, D.C. Pretty global company. President Obama, Prime Minister Britain, we've had about 100 dignitaries from around the globe participated in these challenge cups and startup competitions out of our space in Washington, D.C. So now we have about 200,000 square feet from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia. My wife runs that company full-time. I co-founded with her in 2012. She's the CEO. I'm a lowly board member who gets yelled at from time to time. I stepped down to start a different business called Hauser, startup real estate brokerage funded by venture capitalists. I'm building that and growing that. But I'm really here to talk about the role that co-working has played both in my professional career and how I think it could benefit even a small community like Cape May County, specifically Middle Township. So hearing things like doing a small business development center for another name, I've worked with SCORE. I've worked with the Warren SBDC. the value that they provided me free for both my companies has been invaluable. I can't tell you how awesome it is to have resources when you can go and get smart people and talented people and say, these are the biggest challenges that my business faces today. Can we get some help? And they have the experience, the wherewithal, and the resources to help you. So it's amazing to see that we're going to have something like that, and they have an outpost for the community, but also for the entrepreneurs that are trying to build businesses downtown. I think makes a ton of sense. So what do I think about co-working and incubation and innovation and collaboration? And insert buzzword here. There's all these crazy buzzwords, but co-working was really started internationally and it has come to the United States, and it's growing pretty substantially. When I started in 2012, we were a very, very early co-working space in Philadelphia. And co-working has every flavor of a restaurant or hotel. There's co-working for technology-only companies. There's co-working for professionals. There's co-working for corporates. And so the market has really evolved, and there's all different types of shared office spaces. At the end of the day, when you talk about co-working, you are talking about a shared office environment where people go to work. And then when you talk about incubation is a whole lot more than just physical office space and people meeting. Incubation was really born out of venture capitalists wanting to incubate companies, mitigate the risks that those companies are going to have and grow, provide them with resources, community, and oftentimes capital. So true incubation was born out of the idea of providing early stage capital to young companies and helping to incubate and grow them. We've also seen programs that are accelerator programs. In the work that you're doing, there's joint accelerators, there's accelerators for small companies, big companies. And accelerator programs are usually finite, where people provide some level of capital in exchange for equity to help grow businesses. And so what I've seen as a person that's had the chance to talk to John Arenas, who's the president of Regis Americas, who just launched Serendipity Labs, or Adam Newman, if you've ever heard of a company called WeWork, which on paper valuations of $40 billion business. I've had a chance to talk to a lot of these people, really thought leaders in this changing dynamic. It's so funny that my wife and I, she's a Villanova Law grad, I'm a Villanova business grad, and then there's two young men who are also Villanova undergrads who are building a company called Convene. Convene's now a $500 million company, and they do both meetings and workspace for Fortune 500 companies. And so all of these worlds are actually colliding and merging. But if you were going to look for one trend that I think encompasses all those aspects, it's really about community. Now, coffee is required, number one. You have to have coffee at every one of these places because entrepreneurs like to drink caffeine. But at the end of the day, it's really about how you build a community. And that's what I'm so fascinated about. So it doesn't matter if you're in Philadelphia or Dubai or Cape May Courthouse. What I think is really fascinating is what the power that comes when you convene conversations. Hearing you talk about us taking initiative at Cape May, at the county level, and say, drones are popular. This is going to be a big industry. We're not sure where it's going, but we're going to convene conversations. We're going to get the right people in the right room. We're going to be we're going to take advantage of this opportunity today, and opportunities will stem from that. Many people might think, oh, well, that's not for Cape May County. That's not what our history was. We don't have the capabilities. We are not interesting like Crystal City is to Amazon. But you convene a conversation, and from that, I think we're going to see a tremendous amount of opportunity. I know that to be true. And at a small level, I've seen that through co-working. And so hearing that you're going to do an outpost, I would love nothing more to also see a co-working space in downtown Cape May Courthouse, potentially working with SCORE in some capacity, or the college, because I know that there's a need for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship is a lonely, lonely journey. Whether you're starting a business with your wife, or whether you're by yourself, or friends and family, it is an up and down ride. Not even, I would say, month to month, week to week, sometimes it's hour to hour. Lou, you know, having built businesses, one day you think you're going to conquer the world, the next hour you get a phone call, and there's a major issue and you have to handle it. And so to be able to be on that journey alongside other people is credible. So I'd like to talk about co-working, incubation, acceleration. At the end of the day, it's about people in cohorts coming together, collaborating, building a community around that, tackling challenges and opportunities together with each other. And the cool thing, what happens is when you convene those conversations, is I call it engineering serendipity. So if you do this right, all these collisions that happen. So I was at the Carvery this morning. I was here just spending my day in Cape May Courthouse. I bumped into Elizabeth. We were talking about the doctors in. I love that because in co-working spaces and in incubators, that happens all the time. And what really happens is you save entrepreneurs their most precious asset of all, which is time. Talk to any entrepreneur. There's not enough time in a day to take care of everything you need to do. And how great is it to be able to turn around and say, hey, I'm thinking about an email platform. Which platform are you using? Are you using MailChimp? Are you using Emma? Are you using Constant Contact? And why? I use it for this reason. You've just saved that entrepreneur a lot of time and money, but you have to have an environment. And unfortunately, we live in this digital age where we think we're getting community from Facebook and Instagram and all these things. The millennial, believe it or not, actually craves relationships. Almost all the data proves that millennials want to engage with real estate agents to help them buy their home. They're digitally native, they're savvy, but they still crave relationships. And so I think if this county wants to think about how we create jobs, so we have two compelling value propositions. One, quality of life relative to quality of opportunity. We have the quality of life down here. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't love coming down here. What we don't have yet, I think, is the quality of the opportunity, and that goes back to well-paying jobs for people. And so doing what you're doing down at the airport and reimagining what an airport could be, imagine going down there, stopping at a brewery, having a taco, checking out the tech scene, and maybe I'd take my kids to Naval Air Station Wildwood, which was the history of that, and it's an amazing. So bringing those elements together. Last time I was here, I talked about we have the hardware. We have Mechanic in Maine and Cape May Courthouse in Middle Township. We have the physical hardware. We actually are creating users. I don't think we have enough people in affordable housing downtown. That's one thing that I'd love to tackle with. I know Lou and Matt and Mikey, a lot of people are working on creating affordable places for people to live downtown so that we actually have the users to use the software, which is the retailers and the co-working spaces and the restaurants. We actually have enough. I was telling Elizabeth at the meeting we had a few weeks ago, when I look at the successful developers in Philadelphia that have created neighborhoods over time, whether it's Northern Liberties or Brewery Town or Point Breeze or Graduate Hospital, a lot of these places were both very, very dangerous gentrified areas, and they've been able to develop them. But oftentimes, they don't have any of the software. They don't have the retail. They don't have the restaurants. We actually have that a lot in place, but we just need more users using them. So there's a lot of challenges that come with attracting affordable housing and getting the right clientele and young professionals into this area. But if you take that as an equation and say, if we can solve for getting people to live in our downtown, and we have the places for them to enjoy the downtown, I think that what you're going to have is a community that's built of young professionals that have the quality of life that they're yearning for and they're seeking, and they're going to create the quality of opportunity. So I don't think that it's beyond any of us in this room and the talent that I've seen come out of Middle Township High School and are more frequently than ever coming back here for whatever reason to be the next generation of job creators. There are people in this room and throughout Cape May County that can help enable that. What I've been able to do with my businesses is raise capital for very, very successful people that have enabled and provided me a pathway to grow my businesses in Philadelphia. We have guys like Lou who've built and sold businesses. We have doctors, we have dentists. A lot of these folks in other markets throughout the country are early angel investors. They say, I like that idea that you're working on, but I'd like to be a part of that. How can I help you? I can provide resources, I can provide expertise. Maybe I can provide capital. But you have to have a conduit. You have to have a forum. Where do they go right now if they wanted to have an interest? If I'm the Ferracco family and say, hey, we built a nice little enterprise here for a long period of time, how do we help the next generation of entrepreneurs figure out how they can deliver packaged goods and other things to these booming tourist towns? Well, there's a technology, there's an entrepreneur somewhere who can build that technology, who doesn't have the customer, the connections, or the capital to do it. And so co-working spaces and incubators provide that forum, that conduit, not only to raise awareness around how you can help, but giving entrepreneurs a place that they can go to call home, where they can mitigate risk, find those resources, and build successful businesses. So I've had the opportunity to do this we launched Benjamin Stesk in 2012, we're going on 6 years now, and I did it the hard way. My wife and I, we did a $75,000 small business loan from the SBA, $100,000 in credit cards. Being able to talk through those scenarios of how do you go raise SBA financing? Did you know it's actually easy to raise SBA financing when you start a business and after you already have a business that has revenues and profits? SCORE can help with stuff like that. And so I'm a huge believer that it doesn't matter what the market is, you can build co-working spaces and incubators under certain conditions that create communities that help entrepreneurial ecosystems thrive. I'd love to be a part of that conversation with all of you. The fine work that you guys are doing is instrumental in that. Elizabeth's having these meetings. Despite the fact that there's not a ton of people here today, these meetings matter and the consistency of these meetings matter. So I'll drive down from Philadelphia once a week if I have to share what I feel in my gut, which is that we're sitting on a really something special here in Cape May County. It's about time more people like us who are showing up are spreading the good news about what's happening in Cape May County, getting other people excited about Cape May County, because I truly believe as soon as we marry the quality of opportunity with the quality of life, we're going to be sitting on a treasure trove here. So I'm not sure how long that was. I wanted to be brief, but
Hard act to follow there.
All four of you guys are inspirational tonight. I tell you what, all four of you, and I want to follow you by saying, this is a great start. Right now, we're a code-working meeting. If you guys want to hang around a little bit afterwards, maybe get a little more intimate with some water and some,
Empanadas.
thank you, empanadas over there, we can eat and chat. I would like to try to put a little thread through all of this and say, Rita did a great job of bringing the history in here. And then Carol has the vision of the future. Carol and I were talking about these drones a couple of years ago. I think you made one of them, maybe Will Morey, and people said, there's nothing going to happen. It's amazing how much that's going. That is the future I see in this area. And then we have the pathway, getting the students from the history into the future, and Mike is bringing it all together on how people can, how we as a business community can help each other. In the business community, you know, we're all looking at each other and like, I'm going to talk to that guy. He's going to steal my secrets from me. And there's a little bit of trust that has to be developed. You can't develop that on the internet, on Facebook. But you can, sitting down with a cup of coffee and say, you know what, I like this guy. I like this woman. I like what's happening. And I will share my vulnerabilities, my mistakes, as well as my successes. And we all can learn from that. So all four of you, thank you. If you would stay around here for a little bit, we go to the back. And I want to say thank you for everybody for being here and wish everybody a real good Thanksgiving. Well done, everybody.
Thanks, Ron.